Hello and welcome to the Talking Wolves Transfer Podcast, the show that discusses all the latest Wolves transfer news and rumours. I'm delighted to say I'm joined by Dave Azzopardi. Dave, how you been keeping, mate?
All good, thank you, mate. All good. Obviously, we're still waiting for the first big arrival, Matt, but fingers crossed it's going to be this week. Well, I've said that for the last 2 or 3 weeks, just living in hope still. But yeah, fingers crossed before, obviously, the tour to Spain in just over a week's time. Fingers crossed we can get someone over the line.
Do you think that they will, mate, or do you think we're going to be doing our nothing Benidorm that they haven't managed to
No,
get
you
over
know
the
me.
line?
I'm always a positive fan, but it doesn't seem anything is imminent or close. But I don't know. Let's say yes. Let's try and get everyone a bit more positive in the comments for today's podcast.
Yeah, I think one of the things that I haven't really thought about recently either is that Barcelona hold the key to a lot of transfers because, you know, there's the Rafinha deal, there's Lewandowski, there's De Jong, there's maybe Neves. Like, I do feel like once like the De Jong and potentially Lewandowski transfer happens, and I know it's cliche, but it will be a bit of a domino effect, and we probably will start to see a few more coming in. Especially, it doesn't help when the bloke who's probably pulling the favours for us is in bed with Barcelona. So, in terms of importance, I can't imagine Wolves is high up on his list. But we're going to go through a few rumours today, mate, and just kind of discuss where we think they're at, whether they're likely or not, and just, you know, chew the fat a little bit because you know that fans love rumours. We love rumours. So it's nice to get a little bit excited over them, even though you know, we've seen quite a few over the past month or so be rubbish. We'll start with the first one, mate. It's Dario Osorio, right winger who's playing for Universidad de Chile. Reports in Chile suggest that, and I think you reported it on Talking Wolves about a month ago, Dave, that Wolves have bid 3.5 million euros. It seems that that's been rebuffed and Wolves have gone again with a €5 million bid. He's only a young lad, isn't he? But he seems to be doing quite well.
Yeah, I think he's a player, obviously, with a lot of potential, which I know sometimes, especially with our current sort of transfer, you know, strategy, some people aren't bothered about potential. They want the players for now. But I think it's always good that we are looking at these players for the future. And, you know, Fosun, as an investment company, are going to be looking at players like this because they are investments. Obviously, as of right now, we don't know what the ins and outs are. If this deal comes to fruition, if he'll go out on loan to Grasshoppers, obviously with the news that we've had in the last day or so in regards to Chiquinho, that could throw a spanner in the works for a couple of these types of deals as well. But yeah, apparently Wolves have put a 3.5 million bid in for him. There were reports then from it in and around Chile that it hadn't happened. But pretty big source over in Chile, TNT Sport, have said, yeah, we've gone in with a bigger offer of around €5 million. But I think he's breaking into the international scene in Chile right now, getting into the international squads. So yeah, looks like a promising winger. I'm not going to say I've watched huge amounts of the Chile Premier Division or whatever it's called over there, but seems to be a decent option.
It's hard to get your hands on real footage, isn't it, of divisions such as the Chilean divisions? Because I know you've got like Y Scout where you get access to it, but in terms of like trying to watch the games, or you only ever see compilations on YouTube where, and I think we've ever played a lot of the best player in the world. But yeah. like you said, he seems to have done well this year, mate. He's born in 2004. That makes you, I don't know about it. I know you're 1 year younger than me, but that makes me feel really old. He's only 18 years of age.
As soon as I say "and" after 2000, that's when you know.
Yeah. He's, like I said, he's 18 years old and he scored 4 goals in 13 games. And judging by obviously some of the reports that are coming out of Chile, like you said, a big, was it TNT? Did you say?
TNT Sports, yeah.
Yeah, who reported it. Quite a lot of Chileans are saying, "Why on earth is he going to Wolves?" So, you know, perhaps that speaks volumes as to what they think the player could do. I mean, or how far we fell off.
Yeah, no, it'll be an interesting one. I think the winger position's such a grey area right now. Obviously, we have got a number of good players in that position before the injury to Chiquinho. You could have said it was probably, in terms of depth, one of our strongest positions. But now with that injury, with the uncertain future of Adama, obviously with the likes of Fabio maybe going out on loan, it might put Hwang into a more of a striker backup role. So I think there is space there right now. And whether Wolves go for someone like this or maybe someone a little bit more experienced, someone, I'm not saying he's been linked, but someone like a Guedes type player, for argument's sake, it'll be interesting to see. But I think players like this, although it can frustrate fans because it'll take us a few years to see the best of someone like Osorio, I think it's pretty a risk-free deal for that low fee.
I think another thing to consider as well is it seems that players from South America are easier to get work permits for. I know we saw it with Mascara, so perhaps that's why Wolves are looking in that region. We know that Matthew Hobbs, isn't it? Scout at Wolves, was supposedly in South America the past couple of weeks trying to thrash out deals for the likes of Gabigol was one, and Enzo Fernandez who's joined Benfica instead. So I think it's one to watch. I know there's another report today, wasn't there, saying that he looked like it. Well, Wolves had submitted another bid. But the problem with these is they almost like rehash everyone's stories. Don't they? A lot of it isn't fresh news.
Yeah, you got to pick out the bits. Someone had sent me that today, and it was from a different source, but it looked like it was pretty much the same story. To be fair, so yeah, we'll wait and see. I think, like you said, it's been no secret that Wolves have sort of made South America, it sounds like, a little bit of a priority this summer in terms of trying to get players. I think, like you say, right now with work permit situation, it seems and looks like it's a little bit easier to get hold of them. And much lower fees over there as well. So it's a win-win really for Wolves.
It certainly is. Moving on to the next player, Dave. This rumor was, I think, from a couple of days ago. It's Paul Onuachu from Ghent. Reports in Nigeria suggest that he could be available for around 18 million euros. In terms of profiles for a centre forward, Dave, he fits the bill for what Bruno Lage is looking for.
Yeah, absolute tank, 6'7". He's got a decent goal record. I know it's it's Belgium, isn't it? Genk.
Yeah.
So the Genk bus.
That's a major throw about that, isn't
it? So yeah, he's got a decent record over there. Something completely different to what Wolves have got at the moment. We were looking at the bigger strikers like Kiefer Moores and so on over the last 12 months, 18 months. So it'd be interesting. I don't think Wolves would throw that amount of money on him. If they could get it down below the 15 to 10 mark, I think it would probably be considered a little bit more, especially due to his age. I'm not saying he's past it, but I think he's 28 now, isn't he?
He is, yeah. 28.
So I think 18 million quid or euros, it doesn't really give you much sell on there. But there's some big clubs that are apparently interested. Wolves, Atletico Madrid, Leverkusen, I think Besiktas. So there's a couple of decent sides that are linked in with him, and like I say, it would just give us something completely different to what isn't in the squad already.
Yeah, because the report came from Punch, which I believe is a news outlet in Nigeria. So already a little bit skeptical about that. You do often find, don't you, that players will try and get their native press to try and force a move for them. It's been no secret that he's been looking elsewhere. It says that the player's preference is to move to the Premier League, but it says clubs such as Atletico Madrid and Bayer Leverkusen are interested in him. He's 28, but he did score 19 league goals last season. He definitely does fit that bill, doesn't he, in terms of that big striker? But like you said, at 28, I can't see Wolves throwing down 18 million euros on him. Not at all. But yeah, it's maybe an easy link to make, but I'm not too convinced about the truth in this. Well, we may be wrong, but
no, I think you're right as well. I think the profile of striker is possibly something that we're going for, like we've already said. But the feed doesn't make sense. That's the one sort of sticking point there for me. I don't think Wolves would spend that amount of money. I know a lot of people will probably say, well, we ain't going to spend much money all this window. But they definitely won't spend that amount of money on someone that's not guaranteed to be a first choice striker. I know people will use the Fabio Silva argument, but Wolves would have learned their lesson on that, trust me.
You'd hope. I mean, the quote in Punch from Onuachu is, I love the Premier League a lot and will not mind playing there if the right offer comes. The Spanish league is also good as well, but it depends on what is on the table if the agreement is reached. He doesn't go on to mention Bundesliga or any other leagues, but to me, mate, it sounds like he may be edging his bets a little bit.
Yeah, I don't know. It'd be interesting to see him in the Premier League. I don't think you see many of these bigger strikers. I think we spoke about it on the video with Dan Butler a few weeks ago, speaking a little bit about these taller, bigger strikers. Last time Wolves had a giant like that, maybe Stefan Meyerhofer?
I was just about to say that
yeah.
Wolves haven't got a great track record in signing giant strikers from the rest of Europe, have they? I mean, Meyerhofer was awful, wasn't he?
Yeah. Trying to think, we haven't really had anyone else of that sort of mould, have we? Not in our lifetime, anyway. Maybe.
No, not 6'5", 6'6" plus. I think that the last one potentially may have been Chris Iwelumo.
True.
Kevin Kyle was a big lad as well, weren't he? But I don't think I don't think since the likes of Iwelumo, we've really had that real focal point. I mean,
we'll have to mention as well. I know Finn won't forgive us if we don't mention it. If you have a good search on Twitter, you'll see Paul Onuachu scored a hat trick. I think it was a couple of years ago, and it could be labelled as one of the worst hat tricks you'll ever see in your life, because the way that bloke kicks a ball or doesn't kick a ball, I should say, is tremendous.
It's similar to the horse playing with the gym ball, isn't it? You know, it's like falling over the gym. But yeah, it doesn't paint him in a great picture, and you know, and it's no secret that Bruno wants a player who can get on the end of crosses and is a real threat in the air. But for me, you always find that players this height aren't. I mean, they're obviously good in the air, but they're not fantastic because they don't tend to jump. It's always the ones who are around like 6'2", 6'3", with a bit of spring in them. He's almost maybe too big, but that one remains to be seen. Anything in it, I don't think there's been anything else that's come out.
No, still early days on that.
Yeah. So I know that Genk are open to selling him from the report. I think they're looking to bring in another couple of strikers, so we shall see. Moving on now, mate, to rumour number 3, and I feel like this one may drag on for quite some time. I know that Liam Keane, the Wolves correspondent at the Express and Star, had released sent a tweet out to say that Wolves weren't actually interested in him. It's Gonzalo Ramos at Benfica. We've spoken about him before. I know that Dan Butler put him in his analysis piece for the recruitment plan, which you can find on Talking Wolves' YouTube. It's an excellent piece. I recommend anyone who's interested in stats and stuff to go and watch that. But it's a really easy link to make, but it's one that concerns me a little bit, Dave, because you know we've seen this film before and I don't really like the ending.
Yeah, and I've mentioned this a couple of times, and I think people got the wrong end of the stick with what I was saying in regards to this deal. So obviously, Gonzalo Ramos, young forward at Benfica, we've been linked with him already probably for the last 2 seasons. And I'm not saying he's a bad player, because he's not. He's a very talented player. Got a lot of first team experience already, Champions League experience, scoring goals at that level. But the concern for me here is that Wolves aren't. You could argue me on this bit. I don't think Wolves are in desperate need to spend a huge amount of money on one striker. We need to find different profiles of player that is going to make Wolves better. And I think the reason Wolves struggle to score goals for the last couple of seasons is mainly down to the service from the midfield and from the wide areas. So Ramos, obviously linked with Wolves, it said that Benfica want around 45 million euros, which I said is too much of a risk because it just screams another Fabio Silva deal. And I didn't mean that in a way that Ramos is going to come in and he's not going to be any good. I just meant it in the fact that money could be spent better in other areas right now. So I know there's talks of maybe a loan to buy deal, but a lot of reports in Portugal are suggesting that Benfica will only entertain a big permanent offer. So I'm not 100% sure on this one, Matt. If a loan is an option there, I'd definitely be interested in that, but I'd be very surprised and potentially disappointed if Wolves spent 45 million or around 45 million on Ramos.
I understand where you're coming from, mate. I'd potentially refine that statement a little bit, that Wolves should spend 45 million euros on a centre forward, but he has to come in and be head and shoulders above what we've got. I'm not convinced that Ramos would come to Wolves and be a surefire starter every week. I know that Jimenez wasn't great last season, but I still think that Jimenez with the club and with Lage has got still quite a lot of credit in the bank. and I'm not convinced that Ramos would come in and be our out and out number 9 for most games in the season. So, like I said, I'm happy for them to spend that fee on a centre forward who's going to come in and who's proven. But there's still, Ramos is still unproven. Look, he seems like he could be a good player. And we know that Bruno Lage is a fan of Ramos, having worked with him at Benfica. Ojogo also reported that Wolves tried to sign Ramos on loan in January, but of course Benfica pushed back on that. Another thing to consider here, mate, is it looks like Severovic is going to leave Benfica. Darwin Núñez has already gone to Liverpool. Are they going to let another centre forward go in this window? And that's probably why they're holding out for a permanent deal for no less than 45 million euros.
Because they don't. Well, they're not in a desperate need to sell, are they? I think you're right there. So, yeah, I agree. Obviously, he could play as a number 10, like as a second striker as well. But I think whilst you've got Morgan Gibbs-White still at the club, which I know we'll talk about in a bit, players like Podence could fill out that role as well. Again, and there's no guarantee that Wolves are going to go in and play this season with like a 4-3-3 or 4-2-3-1. Then that doesn't really make sense. So, yeah, like I said, I think he's a good player, but I just don't think he warrants right now, as of this window, warrants us spending that amount of money on him.
No, I completely agree, mate. And you almost get the same kind of vibes that you get with Silva, and that's Fabio Silva. Now, that's no disrespect to him. It almost feels like we'd be doing someone a favour again with this. If Wolves was to utilise the loan with an option to buy, which we feel like we haven't utilised as good as we did in the first season for 2 or 3 seasons, then I'm absolutely all for that. But to put down 45 million euros on what is an unproven 21-year-old at the minute, then it doesn't scream like sensible business to me. Moving on, mate, to we've one of our own. It's Morgan Gibbs-White. Really strange one, this. Multiple reports suggest that Crystal Palace and Everton are the front runners for Morgan Gibbs-White. It looks like Forest are also interested. It said that Wolves have offered Gibbs-White a new deal, but both parties seem quite relaxed on that. He's yet to sign that new deal. Personally, mate, I think it looks more and more likely that he will go. Which is a shame. I know you're in the camp of wanting him to stay, aren't you, Dave?
Yeah, I don't know. I think he'll stay. I do personally. I don't think.
He'll go.
I'm not sure. I think it's one of those, like you say. We'll probably have to see how the window progresses in the next week or so. And I think, but Forest have already spent a decent amount of money.
I think it'll be Everton, if anyone.
Yeah, but. I get. I know a lot of people say, "Well, why will he want to go to Everton?" It's almost maybe like a sideways step. But they have got a little bit, the Richarlison money coming in. I know they've got to be careful a little bit with FFP, but they have got other sellable players. But we've said before, he's sort of been burnt at Wolves recently, predominantly down to what happened with Nuno when he was at Swansea. Had a really decent half season. Nuno recalled him, promised him first team football, and didn't really give him enough of it. I thought, and I said, obviously spoke about it on the podcast a number of times, I thought he was outstanding last pre-season, had a really solid game against Forest in the Cup, and then obviously went out on loan to Sheffield United, where he's been brilliant again. So he's coming in. Obviously, he scored in the behind closed doors friendly against Burnley. If we can play to his strengths, which as a club, in terms of the system, I don't think we've played to his strengths at all over the last 5 or 6 years. And I'm not saying we should do that. But unfortunately for Morgan and unfortunately for a couple of players, Wolves just haven't had the formation and system to suit them as players. I don't dislike him in a wide area. I'm not saying he's an out and out winger, but I don't dislike that. He played in a front 2 for Sheffield United, almost in a free role as a second striker. I don't dislike the sound of that either. So I think a lot of it will depend on how Wolves, set up this season. I think in regards to the contract situation, like you said, Wolves have got one on the table, apparently. He might be waiting until January to see what his game time's like, how Wolves are getting on in the league and how the interest getting in him. But it's a difficult situation for Wolves to be in because I think they're saying anywhere between sort of 20 and 30 million pounds, depending on what reports you read. It's a big risk because is his stock ever going to be higher than this? We don't know. He could have an absolute disastrous season and his value drops below 10 million again and it's never going to get this high. So I can see it from Wolves' point of view. But at the same time, we're desperate for players still. So I think just selling him for the sake of it isn't good business at the minute.
Well, the rumours were that against Burnley that Bruno opted for a back four. That maybe give a bit more room for Gibbs-White to be slotted into that team. I know at Sheffield United, in a central role in midfield, it wasn't his strongest position. Like you said, most of his joy came in playing just behind the striker and almost like a free role, which we have Pedence for. But it does fit into what Bruno Lage likes. We've seen it at Benfica. We've seen it in spells for Wolves last season in terms of assisting he's played. But you are right. This is as high as his stock's going to be, unless he goes on to have a wonderful season.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
You're in that weird territory, aren't you? Because he's got 2 years left on his deal. It's in the same kind of boat as Neves. Personally, if he's not going to sign a new deal, and it's the same with Neves for me, go and sell them now. Because if it is truly sell to buy, we need to raise capital to go and get other players in. And unfortunately, those two at the minute are probably your most saleable assets. Like rumours to be £30 million Everton are looking to offer. You've also got the Kevin Thelwell link, who's sporting director at Everton. Yeah. Obviously knows him, worked with him previously, knows how much of a talented lad he is, but it's whether he can really apply it in the Premier League. And if he does stay, I really hope he does, because like you said, Dave, he had a wonderful pre-season last year, and we were surprised to see him to be shipped out on loan. He's been had his fingers burnt before. He may think it's time to move on, but I think they're going to have to make a decision this window. I don't think they should let it run on until January, because, like you said, his value is only going to get less and less if he stays and he's having sporadic appearances off the bench.
Yeah, it is a risk letting it run to Jan. But yeah, like you mentioned there, I think Everton, if out of these teams, probably the most feasible option. I think they've got the money to buy him. And you got the Thelwell link. They brought in Gareth Prosser as part of their youth setup there. And I'm not saying Morgan's going to play in the youth setup, but Gareth Prosser was a big part of when Morgan was coming up through Wolves. So there is a relationship there. But I'm hoping he'll stay, and I'm hoping he'll have a big part to play this season. But obviously, we'll wait and see.
Another thing as well, and people might think, oh, he's not a fantastic manager. What has he done? But I think for young English players, especially central midfielders, who have the chance to go and play for Frank Lampard, is a plus, because Morgan's similar age to us, isn't he? Maybe a couple of years younger. We grew up watching Frank Lampard scoring 20 goals a season in the Premier League every single season. He's he almost, him and Gerrard were the oracle for English central midfielders. So
exactly,
maybe something to do with that too. So we'll wait to see on that one. But if he does stay, hopefully he does sign a new deal. Moving on now, mate, to our fifth rumour, and this one it seems to be. It seems to be getting a few legs now, but it's been pulled back a little bit. It's Mario Vuskovic, a Croatian defender who plays for Hamburg in the Bundesliga 2. Rumours coming out of Hamburg suggest that a bid of around 10 million euros would be enough to secure the centre-half services. Other rumours had suggested that he'd already had a medical at Wolves, but that's since been squashed. A player that, looking at his stats, he's around 6'1", 6'2", but both competent in bringing the ball out and also progressive passes. In terms of a profile, mate, he's exactly what we're after.
Yeah, I mean, we're desperate for a central defender. I think he started off the pre-season quite well with Hamburg as well. I think he's already got a couple of goals. I think he's a good free kick taker as well, which is always a nice added bonus. I know. But no, I always love it when it like a centre half takes penalties or free kicks. I don't know what it is about it, but it'd be nice to see.
Scar's one, isn't it? At Newcastle, there was Alex. At Chelsea.
Yeah. But in the youth team, Ollie Tipton for Wolves 18s to 23s, he's a penalty taker, a good penalty taker. So it's just one of those things. But
I remember Virgil van Dijk at Celtic as well. He scored a couple of free kicks. Absolutely, Romain Sisson, who's an auxiliary centre half, but he's always standing over free kicks at his time at Wolves, and he scored that cracker from distance at Millwall, didn't he? I know it wasn't a free kick, but
Yeah.
it is nice. It is nice. And
Just
mate, if they're left-footed though as well, it's even better because that is extremely cultured.
Yeah. No, but yeah, like you said, he's only 20 years of age. He'd been on loan at Hamburg and they'd signed him permanently. And they had been relegated this season, but there was a lot of good Bundesliga teams looking at him, and obviously Wolves looking at him as well. And it's not really gone far over the last few days. There's not been much information. Like you said, there had been a rumor, and I think it was a Wolves fan on the wind up actually, because I had a few German accounts ask if I'd seen any news about it, and I said no, this is the only thing I could find.
I had some Croatian news outlets asking me as well. I was like, unfortunately, I haven't got a clue.
Yeah. So yeah, but like you said, about 10 million euros, which I think a player already got, top level experience, international experience. He's not too bad at all. So fingers crossed. It's interesting because we haven't really seen many links with centre backs. No. I think it's definitely an area that Wolves will want to strengthen, especially after losing Marcel, who could have sort of played there, and obviously Romain Saiss as well.
Yeah, and like I said, he's still 20. He's still time to develop. He's got top flight experience. He signed from Hajduk Split in Croatia, and I think Hamburg signed him for around about 3.5 million euros.
Correct, yeah.
And that was fairly recently. I think that's only just been made permanent, hasn't it? Because I think he spent on the season on loan there last season. So I mean, they're laughing. They're making bank on it already. So perhaps one to watch. It was Sky Sports Germany who first reported on it. I think similar to I don't think that they're as reputable as Sky Sports are here, and I'm not saying that Sky Sports in England are anymore. Again, they're reliant.
There's a lot of them outside of the UK. I think Sky Sports
Italy's
in the UK
awful, apparently. It's
Sky Italy is dreadful. Yeah. There's a lot of Italian sources, unless it's like Fabrizio, who obviously gets a lot of his stuff from other journalists anyway, or Dimarzio's all right. The rest of them are absolutely dreadful. Yeah.
I know there are a few knocking about, aren't there? We won't mention any names who will just post Wolves news, and it's just absolute nonsense. But unfortunately, and I class myself as one of those. You get sucked in by it, don't you? Because you do just live in hope.
When as Wolves fans right now, because we still haven't signed a player, because we're getting so desperate. You do.
Well, we signed Hwang, but it doesn't really count, does it?
No, that definitely doesn't count. No.
Come on, mate. Come on. Our last rumour, mate. A bit of a shot in the dark. This one, and it's one that I think it came out early
last Monday.
Was it last Monday?
Mm-hmm.
Is a sensational link to Monaco's Wissam Ben Yedder. Reports in France suggest that Wolves and Manchester United have made contact with Monaco over the 31-year-old, who's an absolute machine. He's an elite striker. He's extremely prolific. He could score 25 in 37 for Monaco in Ligue 1 last season. Dave, looks extremely unlikely, doesn't it? I mean, if we were to pull this off, Jeff, it will be getting a statue, but to me, it does seem unlikely.
Yeah, it does. It does seem unlikely. I think he's 28 as well, isn't he?
No, he's 31.
Oh, is he? Oh,
yeah, he's 31. Yeah.
All right, so he's even older. Yeah. So yeah, it's a time. I'm not saying he's past it, but it's probably the time in his career now where he's thinking, right, if I want to be playing in the best leagues in the world, I've probably got to think about doing it now. So I think for the Monaco one, teams, especially like Manchester United, I think it's too much to risk for them unless they end up getting rid of the likes of Ronaldo and so on. But I think it's too much of a risk for them. Depends on fee for me. Obviously, phenomenal footballer, unbelievable record in goal contributions, not just goals but assists as well. But yeah, I'll be all over this. Value, if you had to say, what would you pay for him? If we could do like 25 million, I think I'd be happy with that.
I think so, and you may think, well, why on earth would he want to come to Wolves? But he left Sevilla to go to Monaco, and for me, that's a step down. I mean, his contract expired.
He's French, though, isn't he?
He is. There is that to consider as well. But his contract expires in 2024, so he's still got 2 years left on his deal. I think if you can thrash out a deal here for 20 to 25 million, and again, this is all up in the air because I don't believe
There's
it
so
will
little
happen.
information on it right now as well.
Yeah, I mean, I think the Man United link is probably more believable, especially if Ronaldo goes. But as a player, mate, he's absolutely excellent. Everywhere he's gone, he's scored goals, and fans may think, oh, Jimenez in his prime, no one be as good as that. But personally, I think Ben Yedder is that next step up to Jimenez in his prime. I really, really do. Everywhere he's gone, he has scored goals. So 214 goals in 436 appearances throughout his career. So
it's a great record. That's a league, isn't it, as well?
Yeah, he's absolutely. That's across Europa League, Champions
Oh, is
League.
it? Flipping
Yeah. He's got 10 in 14 Champions League, 8 in 15 Europa League. He's an elite striker, and if Wolves can pull this off, Dave, it really would be. I know he's 31 and he's 32 in August, so he's coming up to his 32nd birthday. It would be a statement signing, but and you don't mind paying the wages because you're probably only going to get him on a 3-year deal. But for how old he is and what he means to Monaco, you're probably looking at upwards of 25, I think. 25
Yeah. But again, correct me if I'm wrong. I think he's a player that can play a little bit deeper as like a number 10 as well. So I think that's always an option. Maybe later on in his career in the next year or two, if you don't think he's got that yard of pace anymore, he can just sit that tiny little bit deeper. But yeah, it's extremely early days. I mean, we were talking about sort of living in hope. I think there was a guy that posted on Molyneux Mix earlier today about a big marquee signing coming in from France, and everyone's sort of eyes just sort of focused on the Ben Yedder deal. So we'll wait and see. But yeah, extremely early days. It came from a source that not really got much experience with, so I can't say if it was good or bad. But yeah, we'll have to wait and see because not much more information came of it. But what a signing that would be. That would feel like we're almost going back to that first transfer window in when we got promoted again, like signing these players that we thought we'd never ever see in a Wolves shirt.
Yeah, absolutely. And it was the source was Media Foot Marseille, which it's not L'Equipe. So bear that in mind. But you are right with Ben Yedder, mate. He can play a little bit deeper. But in terms of like his characteristics, he's got absolutely everything. He's strong. He's quick. He's actually really good in the area, even though he's not the biggest. I think he's about 5'9", 5'10". Finishing is unbelievable. And just a very, very intelligent footballer. So we'll wait to see if anything else comes out on that. I know that I saw a rumor that potentially Toulouse were interesting too, but in terms of finances, I don't know. I don't know if they've got money or where they've.
I'm not sure. I've not seen that one.
Not too clued up on French football, but we shall see. We shall see. But with these reports, it's that they come out for a reason, and whether that's Monaco wanting to drum up a bit of interest for him, whether that's a player wanting to leave the club to find a move. I don't think they, unless you're journalists we won't mention, unless it's just magics out of thin air. There almost is a reason whilst have come out. So I will say on that one, like I said, not holding out any hope. That rumor on Molyneux Mix though, which is, if anyone not aware of Molyneux Mix, it's just a fan forum. You do get a lot of people on there posting about being ITK and in the know, and we'll what was the Catroni and Coutinho one last season, Dave?
I think that was on Twitter. Was that on Twitter?
No, it was originally from Molyneux Mix. I think that someone had said that they'd spotted Coutinho in the Mount, and said, like, those who know will believe me, believe what you want, or something like that, wasn't it? And it turns out that it was actually Catroni who was living out of the Mount. So that's probably all you need to know about Molyneux Mix. But just on that one, mate, just so people can get a little bit excited, it said that Wolves were also trying to sign Noni Majiuk from PSV as well, didn't they? So
yeah, I think there was a lot. I think they were basically saying by Wednesday it'll show that the Wolves still have money to spend. So I don't know whether we're going to bring somebody in. It's going to be a big signing. I don't know, but no, other than Noni, what do you say, Majiuk? Madueke. There was no other names mentioned, so it's extremely early days. But I'm hoping, I'm living in hope this week, Matt, that in the next few days I'll see Not Dazzling Dave holding up the shirt outside Molly. I'm sure it was somebody else.
That's the signing we all wanted. I know
Yeah.
there's like I've seen a couple of tweets, and again with no real substance or source or links about like Lucas Paqueta as well, which I don't believe.
Oh yeah, I saw that today. People tweeting about that.
Yeah.
I've not seen anything.
I mean, if they're the type of players that we're going for, then it's absolutely time to get our passports ready. But I can't see it happening on any of those three fronts at all. I think we'll be in a lot smarter and a lot more tighter on the purse strings. That's it, Dave. I've enjoyed that. It's nice to chew the fat, isn't it? And just go through and just maybe try and add a little bit of sense and a bit of rhyme and reason into these rumours, because and you're the same as me. As soon as we see a rumor come out on Twitter or something that's been posted, and you don't care how sensational it is, you're just excited, aren't you? Because you're like, oh, I mean, we've had Matheus Nunes dragging on for months, and it's just you get excited, don't you? But when sometimes it's best to just kind of
sit back, just wait for things. Like the stuff with Morgan Gibbs-White the other day, people were going mad at the club saying, what on earth are we doing? I was like, no, we've put a value on him. We're not selling him yet. No one's put a bid in. So let's just wait a little bit. So yeah, and like people know, we do the videos every other day or whatever, just on the rumours and on the news. But stuff like this is good because we can actually sit down, have a discussion about it, dig in a little bit deeper, like you're saying. Yeah, it was good fun.
It was. If you have enjoyed it, guys, don't forget to let us know in the comment section down below. We can, we're hoping to do these once a week, as long as the window goes on, as long as there's enough kind of rumours out there, then we'll keep doing it. But if you have enjoyed it, like I said, don't forget to let us know, and also like the video. If you are new here, please subscribe. And until next time, take care and look after yourselves.